My boyfriend whispered, "She'll never know," while texting someone else. You know that feeling, right? When something shifts in the air and you can't put your finger on it. You're just there, thinking everything's fine. And then out of nowhere you hear those words. "She'll never know." It hit me like a punch to the gut. I wasn't even sure if I had heard it right, but something in the way he said it made my skin crawl. I was sitting right next to him, and all I could think was, who the hell is he talking to? He was just laughing a second ago, all sweet and casual, but then came the whisper. The way he said it, so smooth, so careless, it was like he knew I would never find out. I froze, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I don't even know why I stayed quiet. Maybe it was denial. Maybe I didn't want to admit that I was already unraveling. But the worst part, I could feel the truth crawling under my skin, like a parasite, and I had no idea how deep it went. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't forget it. I didn't say anything then, but I will now. Maybe it's because I've carried this weight for too long. Maybe I just can't hold it in anymore. So here I am, sharing it with you. Maybe someone will get it. Maybe someone will finally understand why I stayed so long, pretending everything was fine. I still hear those words. She'll never know. It's like they're burned into my brain, and I can't escape them. We were just sitting there laughing, talking like everything was normal. It wasn't anything special, just a random night. But then, he leaned in closer, like he was trying to be quiet about something. And then I heard it. She'll never. No. I remember staring at him, trying to make sense of what just happened. I couldn't breathe for a second. Something felt off, but I didn't know what. I just wanted to scream, but my mouth wouldn't move. What was I supposed to do with that? My mind kept racing. Did I mishear him? Why did he whisper that? Who was he texting? Why was he being so sneaky? And I just sat there, frozen, pretending nothing was wrong. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was already breaking. That this moment, whatever it was, had already changed everything. The shock hit me first, hard and fast. Did I really just hear that? I couldn't believe it. Why would he say something like that? Was he hiding something? Or was I overreacting? But the moment it sank in, I felt cold, like someone had poured ice water down my spine. My heart raced, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I wanted to. I wanted to demand answers right then, but something kept me from opening my mouth. Maybe it was fear. Fear that if I confronted him, everything would come crashing down. So I stayed silent. I pretended like nothing happened. But inside, I felt like I was drowning in the questions that kept piling up in my mind. Why? Why would he say that? Who's he talking to? The moment felt like a betrayal, even though I didn't have the whole story yet. I didn't know what he was hiding, but I knew deep down that it wasn't good. I didn't know how to act, so I didn't act at all. I just kept my mouth shut. But inside, I was falling apart. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I kept replaying that whisper in my head over and over. She'll never know. I kept thinking, who is he texting? What's going on? I didn't know what to believe anymore. It wasn't just a random slip-up. It was deliberate. And that's what made it worse. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't stop searching for answers. I tried to focus on other things, but my mind kept wandering back to that moment. I started noticing all the little things, like how he would smile at his phone, but not at me. How his phone would be glued to his hand when we were supposed to be together. I hated myself for not noticing it sooner. Had I been too blind? Or maybe I just didn't want to see it? I didn't know what to do next. Should I ask him? Should I confront him? Or should I just keep pretending? I couldn't make a decision. I was too scared of what the truth might be. But what I felt in that moment, in the aftermath, it wasn't just doubt. It was dread. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew things had already started to unravel. I was so torn. Part of me wanted to confront him, rip the mask off and see what was really going on. But then the other part of me was terrified. What if I was wrong? What if I was just imagining things? What if this was just a mistake? I didn't want to confront him. Not yet. I didn't want to break everything apart without knowing for sure. But I couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling that something was deeply wrong. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe in us. But my gut was telling me that I was ignoring something huge. And I couldn't shake that feeling. no matter how hard I tried. I felt like I was in a battle with myself. Do I trust him? Or do I trust what my heart is screaming at me? I didn't have the answer, and the longer I waited, the worse it felt. Every time I looked at him, I felt that wall between us growing higher. How could I keep pretending like everything was fine when I wasn't sure anymore? It hit me one afternoon. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to know the truth. I had to. He stepped out to run an errand, and that's when I made the decision. I grabbed his phone. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do, but in that moment, all I cared about was finding out the truth. When I opened his messages, I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. It was all there. The messages, the flirtation, the lies. He'd been texting someone else. Someone he clearly didn't want me to know about. I felt sick. I could feel the truth sinking in, heavy and cold. And it was worse than I imagined. There was no denying it. The betrayal was real. I sat there, staring at the screen, trying to process it. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Why didn't I see it before? The worst part? I realized that everything I thought we had, it was built on lies. Everything had been a facade. I need you to understand something before I go any further. When I look back at all of it, I can't believe I didn't see the signs. I mean, how could I have been so blind? How could I have missed it all? We were together for years. Years. We met when everything was simple. It was the kind of relationship that felt like it could last forever. You know, the kind where everything just clicked. I thought we had something solid. No questions. No doubts. But now I see how foolish I was to think that. To believe that someone would never betray me. We started out easy like a dream. It wasn't anything dramatic. Nothing flashy. We met through friends, and honestly, it felt like a perfect match from the start. We shared the same kind of humor, the same values. We clicked in a way I hadn't experienced before. The first time we spent hours talking and laughing together, I thought to myself, this is it. We could talk for hours and never get bored. I thought I found my person, and we'd make these plans, talking about all the things we'd do in the future, all the ways we'd support each other. It felt safe, secure. Everything felt so perfect, so real. But now, looking back, I realize how quickly I put my trust in him, how I just handed over all my heart without even thinking twice. I didn't see it back then, but I trusted him with everything, my time, my dreams, my life. And I didn't realize how quickly that trust was breaking down in the beginning. He was everything. The one who was always there when I needed him. When life got tough, he was my rock. He promised me that no matter what, we'd always be together. That we were a team. No one else mattered. We had those deep conversations about the future, about dreams we were going to build together. I thought we were invincible. Nothing could break us. It felt real. It felt unshakable. And that's the hardest part. Looking back now, I really believed that love. I thought it was enough to keep us strong forever. But something changed along the way. I didn't notice it at first, but I started feeling, I don't know, disconnected. There were moments where I felt more alone with him than when I was by myself. Like he was there, but not really there. As time went on, there were little things, tiny moments I brushed off, thinking I was just overthinking it. But now, in hindsight, they were the first cracks in the foundation. I noticed he started texting more at night, more than usual. He'd get a message, look at his phone with a quick smile, then quickly hide it when I walked by. He started canceling plans, showing up late, and when he was there, he wasn't really there. I remember looking at him sometimes, and he would be so distant, so checked out. I'd ask him if something was wrong, and he'd brush it off, say everything was fine. But it wasn't. And the worst part was that I let it slide. I let myself believe it was nothing. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe work was getting to him. Maybe I was being paranoid. But now, every one of those moments feels like a flashing warning. Sign I ignored. There were moments, quiet moments, when I could have said something. When I could have asked what was really going on. But I didn't. I convinced myself it wasn't the right time, that I was being too sensitive. I remember one night, I asked him if everything was okay between us. He gave me that look. The "I'm fine" look. The one that didn't match his eyes. But I didn't push it. I let him tell me it was nothing, and I just kept pretending everything was okay. There were unspoken words between us. Things that we both felt but never said. That tension, that quiet distance, was growing every day. But I just let it. I should have said something. I should have pushed. But I stayed quiet. And in doing so, I let it all build up, until it all came crashing down in that whisper. I can't explain it, but things started to shift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. But it kept happening, like small ripples that turned into waves. He started spending more time on his phone, more than usual. At first, I tried not to let it bother me, but then he started getting defensive when I'd ask about it. His responses became shorter, colder. I'd ask how his day was, and he'd give me a one-word answer. I'd make plans, and he'd cancel last minute sometimes, with no real explanation. And the worst part, I kept making excuses for him. I told myself, maybe he's just tired. Or, he's busy with work, but deep down, I felt the distance growing. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to face it. There were days when I'd sit there with him, and it felt like I was invisible, like I was a stranger in my own relationship. I started feeling like I was losing him. Slowly, it felt like my trust in him was slipping away, and I didn't know how to stop it. It wasn't like one big thing happened. It was just a slow, painful erosion of everything I thought we had. There were moments where I thought, what happened to us? Where did the connection go? Why did he feel so distant? Why did it feel like he was pulling away? And every time I tried to get close, I felt the walls go up. My heart started to panic, but I pushed it down. I didn't want to believe that the person I trusted more than anyone could be the one to hurt me. It didn't take long before the lies started. Small ones. At first, things he'd say just to get out of a conversation or make an excuse. I'm busy. I'll be home late tonight. I've got to take care of something, but I'll call you later. But when I asked him about it, when I pushed for answers, his story would change. He would act like I was crazy for even questioning him. The more I tried to trust him, the more I doubted him. And every time I caught him in a small lie, it ate at me. I could feel the trust slipping away, but I still wanted to believe. I wanted to think he was the same person I had fallen for. Then came the gaslighting. The more I questioned him, the more he made me feel like I was the one losing it. Like I was paranoid, imagining things. He'd tell me I was overreacting or accuse me of being insecure. I started to second-guess myself. Was I crazy? Was I reading too much into it? Was I blowing things out of proportion? But the gut feeling never went away. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I started wondering if I was losing myself, trying to hold on to something that wasn't even real anymore. Why then? There was so much space between us. We were living in the same house, but it felt like we were on opposite sides of the world. His affection seemed forced, distant. The things we used to laugh about didn't even matter anymore. His touch felt different, like it didn't even reach me. I was trying to hold on, but it felt like my hands were slipping. And no matter what I did, I couldn't stop it. The emotional distance between us was suffocating, and I was stuck, torn between wanting to fix things and realizing I couldn't. The moment had come. I couldn't pretend anymore. The pieces were all there, and they weren't going to fit back together. I had to confront him. I had to know what was going on, even if it destroyed me. So, I waited for him to come back home, my heart racing in my chest. My hands were shaking, and I had this tight knot in my stomach that I couldn't shake. When he walked in, I didn't say hello, didn't ask about his day. I just said, "We need to talk." I couldn't keep hiding from it. I had to know. I had to see if the truth was as ugly as I feared. I asked him about the phone, about the whispers, about the text. His face went pale. I could feel the weight of the silence between us, and I could feel the truth hanging there, waiting to be spilled. At first, he denied it. He tried to laugh it off, tell me I was imagining things, that I was overreacting. But I wasn't having it. I pressed harder, and every lie that came out of his mouth only made the knot in my stomach tighter. I was holding on to hope that he would admit to something, anything that would make this better. But I had already started to realize there was no making it better. It was already too late. And then, finally, he cracked. The truth came spilling out, messy and raw. It wasn't just texting. It wasn't just some casual fling. He admitted to the affair. My world fell apart in that moment. I thought I was prepared, but I wasn't. I thought I was ready for the truth, but the truth shattered everything I knew. I could barely breathe. My chest felt tight, and all I could hear was the blood pounding in my ears. He said he was sorry, that it meant nothing, but I could hear the lies in his voice. I couldn't process it. I couldn't comprehend how everything I had given him, all my trust, all my love, had been betrayed so casually. I felt like I was drowning. It was too much. Everything was falling apart, and I couldn't save it. I couldn't save us. The moment I heard the truth, everything I thought I knew about our relationship crumbled. The trust was gone. Completely. I couldn't even look at him without seeing the lies. I couldn't hear his voice without feeling sick to my stomach. How could I have been so blind? How did I not see it? The love I thought we had was a lie. Every I love you, every promise, every future we talked about, it was all built on false hope. I kept asking myself, why didn't I see it sooner? Why didn't I hear the whispers? And the worst part was that, despite knowing the truth, I still wanted to believe him. I still wanted to believe that the love we had was real. But it wasn't. It couldn't be. Not anymore. I felt so lost. Like I didn't know who I was without him, without the trust I had given him. I thought that maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't. It was gone. And there was no going back. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, spiraling out of control. My heart was in pieces. I was angry. I was devastated. I was ashamed. And yet, a small part of me still wanted to fix it. But I knew deep down that nothing could fix this. Nothing could put the pieces of my broken heart back together. I kept replaying everything in my head. The whispers, the lies, the promises. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I didn't know who to be anymore. I didn't know if I was still the person who trusted him with everything or if I had just become someone who had been deceived. I hated myself for letting it happen. I hated him for doing it. But most of all, I hated that I had to face the truth. And the worst part, I didn't even know how to let go. I didn't know how to stop loving someone who had destroyed my heart. It was chaos. My heart and my mind, all twisted up in knots, pulling me in every direction. The aftermath was inevitable. The truth had come out, and now I had to face the consequences. There was no more pretending. There was no more lying to myself. The damage was real. It wasn't just a relationship that had been ruined. It was everything I thought I knew about love, about trust. I had to pick up the pieces of my life, but it felt like the pieces didn't fit together anymore. I didn't know where to start. How do you rebuild after everything falls apart? It was like I was walking through life in a fog. Everything felt unreal. The betrayal hit harder than anything I could have imagined. Every memory with him, every moment we shared felt tainted. I couldn't look back on our time together without feeling a crushing weight in my chest. And I kept thinking, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Did I miss something? I didn't know how to answer those questions, and the more I thought about it, the worse it got. I was left questioning myself, questioning what I deserved. Could I ever trust again? Could I ever let someone else in? Or would this betrayal follow me forever? I spent weeks just trying to survive. Every day felt like a battle with my own emotions. Some days I wanted to scream, other days I just wanted to curl up and never speak to him again. Every memory felt like it was suffocating me, and I kept asking myself if I could ever move on. I felt empty. I felt like a part of me had died with the trust that had been broken. But little by little, I started to pull myself together. I didn't know how, but I knew I had to keep going. For me, it wasn't easy. It still isn't. But I knew I couldn't let him win. I couldn't let this betrayal define me. The relationship ended. There was no saving it. I knew that, even though I didn't want to. But even after it ended, the emotional consequences lingered. There were days when I still felt his presence next to me, felt his absence more than anything. I felt the weight of his lies pressing down on me, even when he was gone. I realized that the hardest part wasn't ending the relationship. It was dealing with the fallout, the broken pieces of my life, my trust, my heart. I tried. I really did. I took things day by day, trying to rebuild. But the road to healing was long. Every step forward felt like 2 steps back. I tried to fill the hole he left with things, with distractions. But nothing worked. The emptiness was still there. I had to learn how to live with that emptiness, how to carry the weight of what happened and still move forward. It wasn't easy, but I kept going. Slowly, painfully, but I kept going, and eventually, I began to accept it. I had to let go. I had to let go of the past, of the what could have been, of the idea of him I had built in my head. It was painful. It felt like I was losing everything all over again, but I knew it was the only way. I had to let go of the hope that he would come back and make everything right. I had to let go of the idea that we could go back to the way we were, and that was the hardest part. But I did it, and it hurt. But I'm stronger now. I'm learning to be okay on my own, and that's enough. I've learned so much through this pain. It's hard to even put into words, but I've learned that my worth doesn't depend on someone else. That love is something you build with trust, with honesty. And once that's broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. I've learned that betrayal doesn't define me. It's not a reflection of my worth or who I am. It's a reflection of the person who chose to hurt me. And the most important thing I've learned, I'm stronger than I thought. I've survived the worst, and I'll keep surviving. One day at a time, looking back, I know I've changed. I'll never forget what happened, but I don't let it define me. I know now that trust is fragile, but my ability to heal is stronger than I ever realized. So, if you're listening to this and you've been hurt, know that you're not alone. You're stronger than you think, and you will heal. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you will. And in the end, we are all learning how to love ourselves through the pain, how to rebuild after the cracks, the breaks, and the betrayals. So take a moment, take a breath, and remember you've got this. You will rise, you will rebuild, and you will find your peace again. If you've ever gone through something like this, share your story in the comments. Let's support each other through the tough stuff. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories. I'm here for you, and we're all in this together.